Hey everyone, this is Cody, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make essential oils using the Air Still by Still Spirits. Now, there are a lot of YouTube videos or whatever showing you how to make spirits in the Air Still, but almost nothing about making essential oils with them, which I think is important because a lot of people like to do that, and this is definitely one of the easier ways to go about making essential oils compared to traditional stills that you need to use on a stovetop or whatever. So like I said, this still can be used for distilling alcohol as well, but it can also be used for just distilling water. But today I'm going to be using it for essential oils. So today I'm going to be making Labrador Tea essential oil. So I've never made Labrador Tea essential oil before. Never even had the oil before. But it's a very strong kind of scented oil. I guess it smells a little bit like pine trees, maybe a bit, or very, very herbal. I guess this would be like the equivalent to making rosemary essential oil. Like, another name for this plant is called bog rosemary. So I am an absolute fan of the tea itself. Like, it's a really good tea, and it grows wild all across Canada, parts of the United States, and different varieties in other places in the northern hemisphere. So the Latin name is Rhododendron groenlandicum, also formerly known as Ledum groenlandicum. And you can drink it as a tea, like I said, but it has to be drunk in moderation because it contains some compounds known as ledum and also granotoxin, which can be harmful in high amounts. But the essential oil is another way you can get the benefits of the herb just by fusing essential oils in your diffuser kind of thing. And it apparently smells very nice, and I'm hoping today to get an absolute oil out of this. But there's no guarantees, it all depends on the content. Like, I think I read it could have somewhere around 2% oil content, so that would be pretty good. So, optional for this, you can also get one of these water oil separators. I got this off of Amazon, and basically what you do is you put your hydrosol, which is the mixture of water and essential oils, into here. The oil will float on top of the water. And there's this little tap at the bottom that you can sit this above a cup or a jar, whatever you want to hold it in. You turn the tap until all the water drains out the bottom and stop it before the essential oil gets to that point. And then there'll be essential oils right around here. And then you can hold it over a little tincture bottle or whatever and release the rest of the oil into that. So that's an easier way to go about it. Like, there are other ways you can go about it, but a lot of them are a lot more not as easy. But I would highly recommend you get one of these that makes everything a whole lot easier. I should also mention that I'm not sponsored by this company in any way. I just decided to make a video to basically show people how they can make essential oils in this, because there isn't a lot of videos out there. Like, it's all about distilling like spirits or whatever. So it comes with this instruction manual. It says for essential oil distillation, place clean plant material in the air still and add enough water to cover. Each type of plant material will require different volumes of water as indication. For 300 grams of rosemary leaves, add 3.7 liters of water. Do not fill beyond the maximum level. So this air still holds 4 liters of water. And I'm thinking when they say 300 grams of rosemary leaves, I'm assuming that's for fresh material, not dried. So if it's dried material, you'd probably use, I would imagine, less water, because you have technically less weight of material. So like I said, this Labrador tea has very similar kind of shapes as rosemary leaves, and this is all dried as well. So I'm going to play it by feel really and just see about how much water I'll have to use. It's not an exact science, like I'll probably end up filling this halfway to the 2 liter mark, because I probably have around, okay, so how much do we got here? Okay, so it's actually saying 53.37 grams. So I'm guessing, because we have to account for the weight of the bag, I'm not sure how much the bag weighs, but probably around, I would say 7 to 10 grams. It's kind of a bigger bag. So we'd probably have around, I would guess 45 grams of material here. And so set in here to place just enough water to cover really. So we'll see. So first I'm going to unplug the side of this so I can get the lid off. Okay, there's the lid. There's the air still. So I already made lemongrass essential oil out of here, but it wasn't an absolute oil because the yield was so low. But I have a feeling this Labrador tea is going to have a much higher yield of oils. And I'm going to use less water than I did for the lemongrass, so I could get a more concentrated batch, I guess. I'm just going to add all this Labrador tea to the air still. It's a good amount. It's going to smell very strong in this house, so I got the door open, so I'm just doing it right by the door so it doesn't smell up the house so much. That's a good amount. I think I'm going to get a good yield from this, I have a feeling. So I'm going to add 2 liters of water to this. This is a 1 liter cup. Careful not to spill. Press it down a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to need more water. It looks like there's a lot of material in here. Add another liter of water. Okay, so that's about halfway to the full line. I'm thinking that's going to be sufficient, the amount of water to herb ratio. I'm just going to kind of press it down, make sure it gets all soaked. And then more over here. I'm guessing that'll be good. Smell it already. It smells really good. So now I'm going to put the lid back on. Plug it back in. Okay. So now all you have to do is press the reset button side and the collector underneath and plug it in. Now it's starting, so this fan is what's cooling down the vapors. So basically how this works is it's like a kettle. So water is heated at the bottom and the vapor rises and goes up into a little coil that goes around, and then the fan cools it down so that the water condenses again, and then it drips out this little tap right here and then into your collection. So the essential oils will collect in here on top of the water, and then once you're done with that you can separate them using the water oil separator over there. And so this takes about a couple hours to get going, I think. It says it'll take 1.5 hours approximately for the water to heat up. Then once it starts dripping, you collect it in 500 milliliter or less increments, and then set those aside and then do your water oil separation. This should take a few hours from start to finish. So I'll be walking you through the process and then hopefully making some amazing Labrador Tea essential oils. Okay, so it's been about half an hour actually, and I'm already getting first drops. So that's good. It actually smells very nice in here, very strong. It's very strong, kind of like pine needle smell, but also other herbal notes. There's also still a hint of the lemongrass I distilled in here before. And so the water oil mix is dripping into here. And on top of this water is going to be a tiny film of essential oils, but the further it goes, the stronger that film should get. And they say in the instruction manual to collect a maximum of 80% of the volume of water used, so that it doesn't boil dry and cook the plant material. So 80% of 2 liters is 1600 milliliters. So once there's 400 milliliters left in here, I'm going to unplug it, and that will be how much I'm going to be using today. Really surprised it started this fast. Normally it takes about at least an hour to start, but I guess maybe since it was a lower amount of water, it heated up faster. So I think, I could be wrong, but I might actually see a little bit of oil on the top already, so that's a good sign. So I'm just going to let it drip until I get about 500 milliliters. And I'll put this in a jar, put it back, and then collect another 500 milliliters and keep going from there. So I just collected my first cup, So I'm halfway through my first little round. So really from the time I started, it's only been an hour to get one cup so far. So I figure I should be done from start to finish in a few hours. And of course then there's the time it takes to separate the water from the oil, but that's not all that difficult. Okay, so now I just collected my first 2 cups, which is 500 milliliters. And I'm going to put it in this jar for now. I'm going to quickly swap out this as I did in the jar. Okay. It's good I have 500 milliliter jars, so that works out well. Now I'm just gonna put this back, empty the rest into this jar. Round 2. Just looking in the light, it looks like it has a good oil content on top of the water. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but that looks like a pretty darn good oil content to me. So that's good. I hopefully will get at least a small amount of an absolute oil out of this, which is awesome. I don't know if you can see that, but that's definitely oil floating on top of the water. So that means it's working, which is great. Okay, so about 2.5 hours in, it's finally gotten up to the 500 milliliter mark. I'm going to do the same as before. Swap that out. Fill up our jar with the hydrosol. Put this back. Put the remaining mixture in there. Close her up. So I don't technically have a third jar like this on hand right now. Once this one gets up to 500 milliliters, I'm going to stop it there. Because I said at the beginning you need to collect 80% of the volume, which is 2 liters, it's 1600 milliliters. But if I do 1500, I should definitely be on the safe side of it not boiling dry kind of thing. And so I'm just going to wait till this goes back up to 2 cups or 500 mils. And then I'm just going to do my filtration from there. One thing I should mention when you're doing this, it's good to have good ventilation, so especially when you're distilling oils with such a strong smell, it's good to open a door or a window, so not getting lightheaded or anything like that, because this is way stronger smell than if you're just diffusing a little bit of oil in an infuser or a diffuser, for an example. It actually smells very nice in here. It's a lot like pine needles, very reminiscent of pine needles, but also maybe tea tree oil in a way. Almost has a tad of a turpentine-ish smell to it, but in a good way. So it's not super strong right now because it's gone through most of the main essential oil distilling. So this last batch of oil is going to be a lot lower concentration, so that or I could just be used to smelling it so much. But really, because since most of the oil's already been extracted, there shouldn't be a heck of a lot of oil in this batch of hydrosol. Okay, so this has finally reached 2 cups of hydrosol. So I should have, give or take, 500 milliliters left in this unit. So you don't want to go further than that, otherwise run the risk of burning the plant material. So I'm just going to unplug this. Let it do its final drips. Smells good. If only my camera had some sort of a smell-o-vision kind of a feature on it. Otherwise you'd have to do this yourself. Or you could buy the essential oils, but it's like, I looked one time, I was interested in getting it, and it was super expensive. It was over $100 for like a small little bottle, so this is definitely the cheaper way to go about it, especially if you're wild harvesting this stuff for yourself. Okay, so move this. I'm just going to put this here just in case there's a few extra drips. Now between these two jars, I have 1,500 milliliters of hydrosol, probably with around 1 to 2% essential oils contents in total. And I can already see just in the lighting from my angle, I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, there's a good layer of oils on the top of this water. So that's good. I'm going to have a much better yield than the lemongrass. So now, looks like it's time to do our oil separation. So I actually hand built this holding apparatus to hold my water oil separator so that it's easier to do the separating, so it just sits in there like that. I could put a bowl underneath to catch the water. And so I'm going to just have to take this top off. It comes off like that. And I'm going to be putting this hydrosol into here. So just got to make sure it's closed first. Might not be closed. Okay, now it's closed. See by the little hole right there, it's where the water flows through. Okay, so there's no time like the present. Let's do our oil extraction. This has a 250 milliliter capacity. So this will hold half this, and I see a good amount of oil coming in there. Not sure where the 200 milliliter mark is, but until it's about halfway, that's probably good. Yeah, so I'm just gonna wait for a good while, maybe 5 minutes, just to make sure all the essential oils will float to the surface and there's nothing left in the water. Like I could already see. I don't know if you can see, but there's a good amount of oil on the top already, but I just want to be completely sure I get every last drop of oil floating on the surface before I do my filtration. So I'll just take a little break, maybe have a cup of tea and then come back. Okay, this should be plenty of time. So I would imagine all the oils will be on the surface now. It does look a little more visible now. But this is the weaker solution because it was the last of the batch. So basically, I think I'll set this camera down somewhere so you can see better. So I'm just going to gently turn the tap And you can see the water draining into this bowl. So this would be just basically water infused plant material basically. And the oil is sitting on the top. It's floating all the way down as the water is draining. As the oil reaches here, I'll quickly stop it. And then I'll have mostly oil at the bottom. So I think probably around here, I'm just going to stop it here. So that way I can add the rest of this stuff in there. You want to do this kind of in a succession, so that way you keep getting more and more of the oil, and then it becomes more apparent once you're at the end. Okay, so I'm going to wait again, drink more of my tea. Okay, that should be enough time. I'll continue with the separating process. So the more I do this, the more oil is going to accumulate, and then the easier it's going to be to stop the oil from reaching the bottom once it's done. So probably about there. Probably good. So I actually did find another jar, a little bigger than these ones. But now, since the bowl's getting a little more full, I need to take this, put it back into here, because that's almost the full 2 cups there, and put it into this jar, and save it for whenever I need a scented water. I wouldn't drink this, it's probably very concentrated of Labrador tea, so it's probably unsafe to drink, but it'd be fine if you're like making perfumes or adding to a bath line or whatever. I'll put this aside. Back here so I don't get it mixed up with the other ones. Okay, and I'm gonna be putting this bowl back over here. Dumping that in there. And then I would just be pouring it into here. Probably good. Wait a little bit for the oils to float to the surface. Now I'm just going to be turning the tap again. Round 2. Gotta have a quick hand for this because you don't want to accidentally have everything go through, but even if you do, it's no big deal, you just put it in again and try over. Okay. Now, add the rest of the hydrosol. Oh, spilling a bit. Okay, that happens sometimes. Spilled a bit. Wait a little more. Okay, now we just keep calm and carry on. Okay, stop right there. There are some oils floating on here. Could be a bit of essential oils that got in there, but it also could have been like the original carrier oils I've had when I was doing my lemongrass the first time, because I added carrier oil into here so I could basically capture the small amount of essential oils I had. So I don't know, I possibly might have to do that this time, we'll see, but it probably wouldn't be as high of a dilution. So I might re-separate some of this later because it looks like there's a fair bit of oil in it. But for now I'm just going to put it back in this jar. I guess some of it could actually be coming from whatever was in here before. Now, like before, we put it back into here. The bowl back, you know the drill by now. And pour into here. Wait a few minutes. I just thought of another scent this could possibly smell like. Really reminds me a lot like green apples. You know, like the tart Granny Smith apples. I think that might be a little bit what that smell is actually coming from. So, but like I said, pine needles and maybe a bit of tea tree. Really have to be here. Or you can make it yourself. Turn the tap. Let it drain. It was so much easier using this makeshift holding apparatus. Like, I could have bought one, but why buy something if you can make it yourself? You don't even have to be a professional carpenter to make something like this. You have to kind of think outside the box sometimes, I guess. Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm seeing a really thick layer yet. So I'll probably have to end up adding a little bit of a carrier oil. So for that I would be using coconut oil, or also known as MCT oil. And that basically captures any small amounts of essential oil on the surface. It makes it easier to separate because you can actually see what you're separating, kind of thing. And finally we just add our rest of our hydrosol. Every last drop. And wait a little bit. So I don't know if you can see, but it might be hard to see with the camera, but the layer of oil looks very visible. It's very rainbow-like colored. There's little speckles on the surface, so you know that's the pure essential oil. Then again, there's a little bit of oil in here, which I'm not sure. Maybe some is getting through the bottom. Not exactly sure. Probably have to do a second filtration, but for now, just for the demonstration purposes, I'll just be doing it this time. So now this is where precision really matters, because you gotta stop it at just the right moment when the water gets so very much to the bottom, and then when you'd be separating your oil. Okay. Last call for oil, y'all. Okay, I'm just gonna stop right there. Now, shine a flashlight on it so I can see easier. Okay. So this time, I'm just gonna let it drip. Just like that. Just a light drip until it gets closer to the bottom. Just very slowly. Till we get more of a concentration of oil. Top, go. Okay, I'm just going to stop there. So now I'm going to switch out the cup for this smaller one so it's easier to work with. Because I got to be very focused right now. Very slight drops. Okay, it's probably good. Not sure what's that flickering was probably my headlamp. So now the essential oil will be right down here. I can just put it in a tincture bottle. So this is an old CBD oil bottle. That's right, I'm a CBD user. Anyways, it's a little bit of oils left on the bottom, and I believe I used the same bottle for my lemongrass. There's a better look there. So that's okay, like even if it has a little bit of a lemongrass scent, that'd be okay. Some of it's MCT oil, so it will be easier to see your oil basically. Now it's just a matter of holding up your tincture bottle at the bottom. They make this designed to fit in a tincture bottle. Okay. So there's a little bit left down here. What I'm going to do, I can't tap that out really, I don't think, but I can blow on it. Just to push the rest up. And now, the moment of truth. Looks like I should have my essential oils. Pour it out for you for a better look. There's still a lot of water in here, it looks like. And there is a fine layer on the top, but it's a good fine layer. It's very hard to do an exact separation with this thing. I think I made the mistake of putting it back in the bottle with what I originally put my lemongrass oil in, because now it smells a bit lemony. But it definitely still has Labrador Tea scent to it. It's like almost like a mixture of the two, so that might have been a bit of a mistake, but that's okay, it still smells nice. So because of that, I'm going to actually redo some of this water to add more of the scent back to it. Might even redo it all for second filtration, we'll see. And I'll do it this time with the MCT oil. Okay, so I'm going to redo this with the coconut oil this time. I know it's very tedious, but Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. This time I'm gonna add some coconut oil to it. Just a little bit. It's probably good actually. This is gonna infuse with all the essential oils. So this is what you call a carrier oil, and this is actually very common in the use of essential oils, or in the making of essential oils rather. Because some essential oils are just such a low yield, it's very hard to get an absolute sometime unless you have specialized equipment. Not even going to wait long this time. As you can see, this MCT oil makes it much more apparent. It's much more of a layer of oil that's easier to separate once it reaches the bottom. Now I'm just gonna set this aside. And let it rip. Okay. I think this is working much better. This might just be the way to go. Like, I'm not exactly sure, but for any herbalists watching this who make their own essential oils, like, I'm just starting out with this stuff really, but do you tend to always use a carrier oil with every type of herb you distill, or do you have high enough yields with some of your herbs sometimes that you don't need a carrier oil? I'd like to know, so please feel free to drop a comment if you have thoughts about that. Like, I'm sure the absolute oils you get at like stores or whatever, a lot of them are probably made with very specialized equipment, like laboratory grade equipment kind of thing, so I'm not sure, but I'm sure like some herbs like lavender would be a little more apparent. I don't know. As long as it smells nice, I guess that's really what matters. Now I'm just going to fill this up again. Okay, it's probably good. Okay, this is where I really gotta watch it now. I don't lose all my oil out the bottom. Just do a little bit of a time. The oil gets more and more down there. Okay, down there. Okay. So as far as I can see, this is all oil. This would be a mixture of essential and carrier oil. This aside. So I'm actually going to put oil into this tiny jar, because I don't want to have it smell like lemongrass again in this bottle. So I could put it in another tincture bottle, but I think this jar would be best for now, I think. So I think, okay, there I see the oil coming. So I can put that back in here. This is water. Okay, this is what I need to get above here is all oil. Like all oil, and this is all water. So I need to make sure I get this water before the oil drains in. So let me get this cup again. So once the oil comes, it gets really fast. That's what it seems in the pattern it's been in the past. Okay, my jar. Yeah, this should be all oil now, so that's good. Didn't waste it all because there's still some up there. Now, finally, moment of truth. There. See that? It's definitely Labrador tea. Smells like Labrador tea. Smells very strong, so that's good. And it was fun, wasn't it? That's how you make essential oils, I guess. So I'll be putting this into little vials, and then I can put it in my diffuser or do whatever. And that, my friends, is how you make essential oils in the air still. Now, I hope you had fun today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and hope you learned something out of this. And until next time, happy diffusing.